Thousands of homes in western Washington are without power this morning. The recovery is underway after a windstorm swept through the region. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers are trying to avoid a partial government shutdown, but time is running out this morning. The deadline is tonight. And if you feel like heading to bed early tonight, there may be a reason for it. Today is winter solstice, bringing us the shortest day and the longest night of the year. Good morning, everyone. It is 5 a.m. now on this Friday. I'm Brittany Bailey. Jen York is off this week. Well, today, if you didn't know, is the first day officially of winter. And Evan, you and I were talking this morning about this. It doesn't really look like winter outside, but we're kind of okay with that. It feels like it, though, this morning, that's for sure. Yeah, and it's almost like as the winter season approaches now, as we're finally here, the first day of winter, temperatures are actually dropping down. So we've seen about a week stretch of 40-degree afternoon highs. Today, we will drop back down to the 30s. And as you mentioned, Brittany, it is the shortest day of the year. But take a look at what we're seeing on satellite radar. Despite those temperatures cooling down over the next several days, we are going to be seeing sunny skies today. You're seeing a couple snow showers that are clearing out of that Idaho, Montana region, but otherwise clouds are clearing out and we're going to be making way for a pretty sunny day. Keep in mind, as that happens, wind speeds are still pretty high. We see 21-mile-per-hour sustained winds in Spokane, 17 in Coeur d'Alene, 17 down in Pullman. This is that transitionary period between wet weather systems where we're seeing a little bit of dry weather. 12-hour forecast shows that temperatures will get up to about 38 degrees, 5 degrees cooler than what we saw yesterday. In some areas, 6, 7, 8 degrees cooler, but the sun should be shining out through most of it. Your weekend involves another day of sunny skies on your Saturday. Sunday, a good chance of that rain and snow moving in, and that means that there could be the chance of snow in our lowland elevations, including the Spokane region. We'll be covering exactly what we mean by that and how much to expect going towards your weekend. We're also talking what those passes look like. I'll throw things over to Amber Rustashan, who's checking up on the roads on our Friday morning.
Evan, good morning. Well, if anyone is starting their holiday travel today and you're heading to the west side of Washington, I would take it slow over Snoqualmie Pass. It does look like it is snowing, and western Washington is experiencing those heavy winds right now. So you are going to face some weather conditions, again, if you do drive over Snoqualmie, but there's no restrictions for eastbound or westbound drivers. That's all I have for now, so I will go ahead and send it back to the studio.
Amber, thank you so much. Crews in western Washington are working to restore power to thousands of homes this morning. A windstorm swept through the coast in Puget Sound. Now, at the storm's peak, more than 300,000 homes and businesses were without power. This morning, more than 100,000 customers are still without power. Flights were also delayed from SeaTac International Airport. Bellingham Airport recorded gusts up to 66 miles per hour. Mount Baker saw gusts as high as 117 miles per hour. And those strong winds knocked down trees and power lines.
We have a king-size bed, and she was at the head of the bed, and the tree smashed through the bottom part of the bed, and it lifted the mattress up, and so she went up in the air a bit, and so luckily someone else was home and was able to help her out of the bed and get out of the room to safety.
A tree also fell down onto Interstate 5. That highway was shut down in Skagit County for several hours there. Well, meanwhile, Port Orchard has a long road to recovery after a tornado touched down there. Kitsap County leaders are assessing the damage now. So far, 20 homes have been given red tags, meaning they are uninhabitable. 15 more were labeled as unsafe. 180 buildings, though, were marked as okay to return. County leaders approved a formal declaration to qualify for federal disaster assistance, but leaders say receiving that aid depends on whether the tornado damage meets certain federal thresholds. One county commissioner says he does not think it will. In the meantime, a community recovery center is now set up to help those affected. The Red Cross also is offering assistance. Time is running out to meet the midnight deadline and avoid a partial government shutdown. Congress must pass a spending bill today. House Republicans ignored what the Senate passed earlier this week. Instead, members passed a bill to fund $5.7 billion for a border wall. And President Trump has said he is not signing anything until he gets that funding. But Democratic leaders also say they are not backing down from their stance.
I've made my position very clear. Any measure that funds the government must include border security. Has to.
The Trump temper tantrum will shut down the government, but it will not get him his wall.
Senate will take on the bill this afternoon. The House Majority Leader hopes for a compromise. Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders says the president will not travel to Mar-a-Lago for the holidays if the government does shut down. If that happens, more than 800,000 federal workers will be furloughed or forced to work without pay. Well, if no deal is made to fund the president's border wall, one Iraq war veteran says he will try to make the funding happen. And he has more than 100,000 supporters and counting. The veteran created a GoFundMe page to raise money for the border wall. Now, since it was created on Sunday, the campaign has raised more than $10 million. That includes donations ranging from $5 to more than $50,000. He says he was just tired of waiting for the funding to happen, so he took action instead. The goal is $1 billion, and GoFundMe reports that is the largest goal created on its site ever. If the fundraising does not meet that goal, though, GoFundMe will return all of that money. Another top U.S. leader is leaving the White House. This time, it is Secretary of Defense James Mattis. His announcement came just one day after the president made the controversial decision to pull U.S. service members from Syria. In a tweet, the president announced that Mattis will be retiring in 2 months. He will leave his position at the end of February. In his resignation letter, Mattis wrote, "Because you have the right to have a Secretary of Defense whose views are better aligned with yours on these and other subjects, I believe it is right for me to step down from my position."
Everything that indicates stability, everything that indicates strength, everything that indicates knowledge is leaving this administration.
Mattis is the 6th cabinet secretary to resign or be forced out since Trump took office. Since President Trump took office, rather. The president hopes to name a replacement by the end of the year. Well, the Pentagon is starting to plan a major drawdown in Afghanistan. The U.S. plans to pull out about 7,000 service members. That is according to CBS News. Now, that is about half of the U.S. military members still deployed there. There have been reports that they could leave the country by summer, but there's no final decision on that yet. The U.S. invaded Afghanistan after the September 11th attacks back in late 2001. Today is the first official day of winter. That also means the least amount of daylight of the year. Now, that happens when the northern hemisphere is tilted farthest away from the sun. But while we're seeing the shortest day, the southern hemisphere is seeing its longest day. The solstice this year is extra special because it is followed by a full moon and a meteor shower. Now, you can catch that full moon tomorrow night. It will be the last one of 2018. It is the first time since 2010 that winter solstice and a full moon will be fewer than 24 hours apart. The next time that happens will be in 2029.
3, 2, 1, 0. We have commit. We have liftoff.
Today marks the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 8 launch. Apollo 8 was the first manned spacecraft to orbit the moon. It was a 6-day mission for astronauts Frank Borman, James Lovell Jr., and William Anders. Apollo launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The mission was also the first to leave Earth's orbit, reach the moon, orbit it, and return safely to Earth. This was the U.S.'s second space flight in the Apollo program. The photos and data the astronauts gathered while in space were critical in preparing for the moon landing just the following year. The mission also produced the now famous photograph of Earthrise. It shows Earth and parts of the moon's surface taken from lunar orbit. 5:08 now on this Friday. A nativity scene is back up at a western Washington park after some people threatened to sue the city. The group claimed it violated the Constitution.
Oh, God.
Well, if you can't ski or board but still want to hit the slopes, we have an idea for you. Evan and I put our tubing skills to the test, and we are taking you along for the ride.
And we're starting off our Friday in a beautiful way. Sunny skies expected in the afternoon, but unfortunately it doesn't last long. Another round of wet weather is on the way. You're going to want to know whether to expect more rain or the return of the snow. Your forecast right after the break.